Yes, people, what is happening? Welcome back to the Vinny's Talk Show. So today we've got another video, and this one is, am I black? Am I a black man if I say I'm a black man? Obviously, I think that's in relative terms to the identifying as black. But yeah, this is Piers Morgan Pride debate as well. So there's James Barr and a couple of other people on this panel. So yeah, thank you as well for the recent love on the content. Let's get straight into this.
Why do we have to have a month?
The reason why is because it's people like you who don't understand why we really have it.
The LGBTQ plus community has over half a calendar year.
I don't like the flag. I think it's a piece of idiocy. I don't understand why it changes every bloody week. The gender affirming care movement, Nazi, Auschwitz level awful.
You shouldn't even be giving that airtime. He says loads of nonsense.
Well, you say loads of nonsense. I don't deplatform you. How many men have ovaries?
I have no idea, Piers. I'm not in that situation.
No men have ovaries.
Well, a lot of you on this panel believe that there is only one type of woman, which is cisgender women.
Are there different
It's
types
not
of black
included in the
people?
conversation.
Or is black just black?
Ernest, if I now identify as a black man, am I a black man?
Why are you conflating race with gender, Piers?
I'm just
It's not
asking you
the
a
same
question,
thing.
Ernest. Am I a black man if I say I'm a black man?
Okay, so it looks interesting. It's going to be a good one.
Mothers, fathers, armed forces veterans, fallen soldiers, women, patron saints all have one thing in common. There's one calendar day per year held in their honour. Quite right too. There's always been a source of some confusion to me that simply being gay or part of the LGBTQ2+ community entitles you to an entire month. I'm, of course, referring to the holy month of Pride, which mandates 30 days of revelry in honour of, as I say, the LGBTQIA, my apologies to A's, -2SL- community. I have no idea what half of that means, but I'm very happy for everyone to lead the lives they want. And admittedly, after reading that aloud, it all makes a lot more sense. Or does it? Clearly, there's a day for every letter, but the serious point here is that this kind of enforced celebration of sexual preferences is, I think, becoming a little bit counterproductive. There are many millions of people, myself included, who couldn't give a damn what you do behind closed doors, or frankly, in front of open doors, and would rather not know about it either way. I don't care. Why should they be browbeaten and shamed into thinking they're bigots if they don't go on with enforced month-long celebrations? This is what happened when Adele called out a heckler who reportedly shouted, "Pride sucks."
What was that? Did you just say pride sucks? Did you come to my show and just say that pride sucks? Are you stupid? Don't be so ridiculous. You got nothing nice to say, shut up, alright?
Chump.
Oh, here we go. Adele, like a woman who's supposed to be all fancy and stuff like that, and just, you know, speaking like that, it's just, I don't know, it's a bit unnecessary. I mean, not everyone agrees with Pride, so...
And here's the problem with that for young Adele, who was effing and blinding at somebody who paid presumably very good money to be at that concert of hers in Vegas. It turns out the man didn't shout "Pride sucks" at all. He shouted "Work sucks," to which most people probably would have agreed with him, including,
Well, there you go.
judging by the whining that she's been doing since she got the gig in Vegas, Adele. But maybe he's employed by the BMW marketing department, which has been busy fielding complaints this week about another recurring Pride problem, corporate hypocrisy. The car maker dutifully changed its logo on social media to reflect the Pride rainbow, keeping with many thousands of virtue-signaling corporations across the Western world. The followers in the Middle East, where homosexuality is commemorated rather differently, got the plain old blue and white. After a backlash, BMW posted, "This is an established practice of the BMW Group, which takes into consideration market-specific legal regulations and country-specific cultural aspects."
The fact that that these big businesses have to put the LGBTQ flag on top of the logo or behind it is just absolutely crazy to me. Like, just because BMW didn't beforehand put the LGBTQ flag behind the logo, obviously that caused outrage in the community, which it just shows where they stand, really, that every big corporation or on back of every bottle or every big brand in the world has to have some has to have something to do with LGBTQ, or it's a transphobic business, and they'll lose many buyers, or they'll just lose customers. Like, yeah.
Have it then. These companies don't care about gay rights. They're not making a stand at all on any principled level. They're just adjusting their virtue signalling to amplify their virtue so they can sell a maximum number of products in any particular country of the world, regardless of what that country actually thinks about things like homosexuality. And as a very unhappy marriage of Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light shows, they will drop the cause like a flaming hot potato if it costs them money or has any kind of backlash. Now, I fully support LGBT rights.
If you're not queued up on the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney situation, obviously Bud Light filmed an advert with Dylan Mulvaney in a bathtub, or it was some sort of advert along them lines, who is a trans woman, a biological male, and this caused Bud Light as a business to lose £1.5 billion in obviously revenue, because people weren't buying it because they saw the advert and they don't agree. I mean, the population of people that drink ale or beer or Bud Light is male, and why on earth would they want a trans woman who is a man on there make an advert? It just don't make any sense. And obviously they lost so much money, and I won't drink it either.
I don't even remember those fools, so my apologies to the rest. I always have. And I don't need a rainbow on my cereal box, credit card, sandwich or beer to prove that. And I certainly don't need it for a month. In a moment, we'll debate all things prior with tonight's pack, Esther Krakow, James Barr and Ernest Owens. But first, returning to Uncensored is Riley Gaines, whose new book appropriately is titled Swimming Against the Current, Fighting for Common Sense in a World That's Lost Its Mind. Well, Riley, great to have you back on Uncensored. How are you?
I'm doing great, Piers. It's great to be back on with you, so thank you.
Well, listen, you know, you're one of my heroines out there because you fight what's often been a very lonely battle against this kind of woke nonsense that's been happening, certainly in the sport that you were so accomplished in. Tell me the premise of the book.
Yes, it was a whirlwind. To be able to add author to my resume now is crazy. But the premise of the book, look, of course, a little background on me, what it takes to be an elite athlete, something that I think a lot of the people who are ultimately making the decisions, making these rules, don't understand. More depth and count of what we went through at that national championships in regard to the unfair competition and the locker room, of course, the silencing that we faced. Again, something I don't think a lot of people understand, why so few have been willing to put their name and their face to this, how we got here, the trajectory of where we're going. And what we as everyday people, common sense human beings who intuitively know that men and women are different, what we can do to combat this movement.
Yeah, that entire situation was a whole mess. You know, Leah Thomas beating the women in the women's category. It was a biological male, and then them allowing biological males into the women's changing rooms, etc. And then the women who actually complained against the biological men competing in their leagues actually got silenced, and some of them even got banned. Obviously, I saw a video, me and Jason reacted to one on our other podcast, if you want to check that out, about a woman deadlifter who actually got beat by a male and took her spot to go on to another final or whatever. And then when she complained about it, she got banned for 2 years, and it's just all corrupt, really. And like we said, we saw this in the Olympics a couple of weeks ago, where there's literally been a biological male in the ring with a female in the Olympics, and she stormed out of the ring after 42 seconds, which she does right. You know, why should she have to face a biological man? There's a reason we don't have a gender neutral sporting category. Like overall, there's a reason we separate sexes and genders in sport, because this shit happens.
It's extraordinary to see what's happened in sport, but I do think that the woke worm is turning. I am beginning to feel like the silent mass majority are beginning to rise up and say enough of this. This has to be sorted a different way. When you see what's happened in swimming, in sprinting, in any sport that requires a fairness and equality around size and power and speed, which is, of course, is determined largely by biological sex. It's why we separate the sexes for the Olympics, for example, I do feel the tide's turning, pardon the pun. Do you feel that?
100%. I feel more hopeful now than I have felt in these past 2 years since I've taken this stand. I think parents are waking up. I think coaches, female athletes, medical professionals. I think your everyday person who otherwise maybe would have considered themselves apolitical, probably people who thought this never would impact them, their families. They're understanding now that no one is immune to this movement. It's infiltrated into all levels, whether that's corporate America, whether that's academia, of course, within our government, our media, what have you. And they're understanding it's up to us as everyday people to call out the hypocrisy and push back. So, yeah, I agree. I feel very hopeful at this point in time.
What do you feel about things like Pride Month? I mean, like I say, I support the LGBT community, always have done. But I find this whole idea of a whole month being set aside for celebrating Pride. I'm like, why? Why do we give one day to veterans of world wars and a month to gay people, for example? No harm intended on Mr. Barr here. I'm sure he'll be responding in kind too. But I have no issue with James and his sexuality.
Thank you.
But why do I have to celebrate it for a month?
I should say no issue with yours, Piers.
Well, yeah,
but I would rather you didn't ram it down my throat all the time.
There's no danger of that happening. But I just wanted to... But to be clear, there's no straight month, right? There's no celebration of my sexuality or ramming of anything down people's throats. But Riley, before we all lose the plot here, how do you feel about enforced virtue signalling, where if you don't go along with this, then you're kind of lambasted as a bigot? We see it.
I mean, there you go. You have to go along with it, or you're a bigot, or you're a transphobe, or whatever. This is where problems actually rise. This is where it starts to. This is where the corruption levels begin to spike off, and this is where they begin to. This is where it becomes toxic, really, because you can't just force everybody to agree. You can't. Not everybody can be on a collective opinion about things. It just won't happen. You know, people have religious views, religious beliefs. People are brought up differently, and you can't have everyone on your side. There's always going to be opposites. And yeah, like you said, the trans community, the LGBTQ community, are never going to get everyone on the side because, you know, we obviously know a bunch of people who would never even consider switching to the woke left side because a lot of the things they stand for, in my eyes, are very wrong. You know, the puberty blockers on kids and these LGBTQ events. I mean, I think if most people actually looked online and looked at these LGBTQ events and how predatory and disgusting they actually are, then I think we'd realise that maybe the entire community is just not what they said to be. They're not trying to preach kindness or equality. It's just all messed up, really. And yeah, if you want to check them out, make sure you go and check them out. There's like grown men butt naked on bikes riding around in front of children, and then these fully grown men in thongs getting the bum slapped by women or by drag queens. It's really bad.
All sorts of different ways. I remember with the George Floyd murder happened, a horrific thing, which I wrote and spoke about a lot, about how horrific it was. And it had to affect real change, which it did. But that day when everyone was told to do a black square on their Instagram for a day, and I just didn't want to do it. And I instead posted a picture of myself in my local park with a bottle of rosé and got completely annihilated by people who felt this meant I must therefore be a racist. And I was like, no, I spent all morning actually debating this on television. I wrote a column about it, and then I fancied a glass of rosé, and I fancied exercising my free speech rights to post a picture of said bottle of rosé on my Instagram. And yet I literally had my kids ring me, my sons, who were being bombarded with abuse. What is your father doing? Why isn't he doing the black square? And I feel the same about the backlash that comes with things like Pride Month. It's like, if you don't go along with all this, somehow you must be homophobic, which I'm not. Your thoughts?
Right. No, I totally agree. I just want to know what posting a black square on Instagram, how that helps quite literally anybody. And yeah, to your point, Piers, look, the Pride movement it's not just one day, it's not just 1 month. The LGBTQ plus community has over half a calendar year in days. There's Trans Visibility Day, there's Asexual Awareness Day, there's Gender Fluid Day. I mean, I can't even keep up. And yeah, it's not even about that these days exist or that they're divisive, I think, in their true nature. The problem is, just as you said, the backlash, the risk, the threats that we face if we don't participate, or even if we dare to question this. And again, it's in every single realm of society. This has seemingly overtaken the public square. And I think the same sentiment you had, what people do behind closed doors, by all means, that's the beauty of living in America, in my case. That's the beauty of where we live.
Of course.
But I don't want it to cost my taxpayer dollars, and I don't want to be forced to support this. Because as a Christian, I mean, I don't support it. But that doesn't mean I want to infringe on someone else's rights, just as I don't want my rights.
Yeah, true. Also, as a God-fearing man, I agree. And yeah, it's just the fact that they do criticize you if you don't believe it. They should just look at the fact that everyone has a right to an opinion, and that if they don't want to agree, they don't have to. Like Piers Morgan, when he didn't post the black square, he got death threats and his kids were getting threatened or whatever. You know, why should they be threatened for? But Riley Gaines said, what difference does it really make? You know, I posting a black flag on Instagram or whatever you're going to post, I mean, it really don't make a difference. Me posting an LGBTQ flag on Instagram, hashtag whatever, don't make a difference to anybody or anything. And it's just useless protesting. So yeah, there's not really much else you can say other than it's just a load of shebang. But on that note, I'm going to leave this video here. Go and check out the next part. Thanks for watching.